Ben, we're very grateful for your remarks and appreciate you sharing time with us. We know that you have a program to get to in the State House, so we're thankful that you're able to share this time. We mark 1 year since the escalation of Russia's unprovoked war in Ukraine. In that time, it's been no secret that Putin has kidnapped Ukraine's children and human trafficked them into Russia. These children are shackled into excruciating slavery, and at best, they are quote-unquote reformed by Russian propagandists. Russia has raped Ukraine's women, killed its men, and tortured its people. Every day, all year long, the evidence mounts as the bombing plods on. President Biden has declared Russia's abominations prosecutable crimes against humanity. Now, then, is the time to handcuff the aggressors to justice. It will be a more humane process than they showed their victims. God will see that their suffering will be in the prison of their conscience and behind the bars of democracies that conduct themselves as countries of laws and not of men. Viciousness thrives when those bloodthirsty for power are left unchecked. Russia's recent withdrawing from nuclear arms treaties is its retaliation for being checked. But history has told us that cowering to the depraved only leads to the expansion of evil. Despicable behavior must be met with the overwhelming force of good. Everyone has a role, no matter their station. There is no room for complacency. The world's people, who have our own daily lives and our own individual challenges, are assailed with oceans of negative news, from Chinese spy balloons and mind-trapping TikToks to the stink of racism in Philadelphia's own backyard. The persistence of the daily news can be numbing. But these challenges cannot cause America's citizens or the world's to be frozen. Our daily lives can be singular voices, and we can work together jointly in community, empowering the right responses. Today, the just response is a resistance that supports Ukraine's right to sovereignty and to independence. The right response is always with the oppressed and never with the oppressor. This Saturday at 2 p.m., there will be a rally in Washington, D.C. at the Lincoln Memorial. And we understand that there's already 7 bus loads registered and only a few seats left. So we're asking for anyone in the room who has not registered and would like to go to please register with the Ukrainian Educational and Cultural Center, and the buses will be leaving from here at Manor College, the UECC, and St. Michael's down the road. If you can't be there this weekend, then reverberate your voice in exemplification. Where we can work together, we must. And where we cannot, we mustn't forget that Goliath was slain by David with a single rock. Let us be a chorus of Davids. At Manor, our confrontation with the contemptible is doing as we're doing today, advocating openly and publicly, shining light upon the darkness. We both symbolically and authentically baked bread today for refugees. We offer our students a personalized education in the Judeo-Christian tradition founded by the Sisters of St. Basil the Great who join us today. And we do this so as to join and generate a commitment to a peaceful world, inspiring confidence in the present and hope for the future. When we do our work, we endeavor to lead by example. When the war escalated a year ago, we launched humanitarian efforts that have included publicly denouncing the war. We conferred our first ever honorary degree in our 75-year history upon President Zelensky in coordination with scores of other colleges and universities. We fundraised and supported Ukrainian relief efforts, and we engaged our students and our community actively in the cause for peace and for prayer. While our brothers and sisters in spirit rally in support of Ukraine at the Lincoln Memorial, it is apropos to recall this Black History Month and this Lent what the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. told us to give us hope, to inspire us into action wherever people are oppressed, that we will prevail. As he said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I'm grateful now to be able to welcome to our podium someone who is helping us to be vigilant in resisting the repugnant and bringing hope, Congresswoman Madeleine Dean.
Good morning. It is my sad honor to be here with you today. To mark 1 year since the re-invasion of Ukraine by Russia, by Putin, and the despicable forces that he has put upon Ukraine. And we know that this follows years of an incursion that started in 2014. But what marks this year is a year of inhumanity, a year of war crimes, as described only in part, but horrifically, by our President Perry. I associate myself with the words of my friend, Representative Ben Sanchez, and with you, President Perry. And I'm so delighted to be here with you, the Honorable Iryna Mazur. 1 year ago today, Putin invaded Ukraine. As I say, again, children have been slaughtered, innocents have been slaughtered, women have been raped, people have been tortured, children have been taken into Russia in custody for the so-called reforming of their thoughts and their beliefs. I have to tell you that I never thought this was really properly called a war. I thought it continues to be just a series of war crimes. There's no justification for what Putin is doing in Ukraine, despite the absurd words that he said earlier this week. I have to tell you, though, I am lifted by this community. I remember being here just a year ago. I've been here many times, but being here a year ago, Iryna, remember, in the immediate aftermath of the invasion and the extraordinary humanity that is this community, that is Pennsylvania's Ukrainian population. We saw it on display before 1 year ago, but man, oh man, has it been on display in these months since. I remember seeing the magnitude of donations. I remember somebody at the Cultural Center bought a few boxes for donations, and very quickly the gym was filled. Donations piling up, like the love that we feel for the people of Ukraine. The humanity, love, and resilience you all have shown is making a profound difference. And I want you to know, in Congress, we believe we are hoping to make a difference. You saw that we have passed, and the President has lifted, more than $30 billion worth of aid to Ukraine. That is military aid, humanitarian aid, and economic aid and sanctions. We must continue that. That's not enough, as President Zelensky has told us. We need more. And I'm here to tell you that I am committed to more, and I know this administration is committed to more. As you saw, the president announce another $500 million in his recent visit. I want to end with this. Yes. I want to tell you the urgency I feel, that this war be resolved sooner, that it not continue in a protracted way, a war of attrition, killing more and more, destroying more and more, requiring greater rebuilding, traumatizing more and more. We must surround Ukraine with love and the munitions necessary for a speedier end to this war. I pray for it in the next 6 months or so, no longer if we have our way. Let me end with the courage that I saw displayed by 2 presidents this week. I don't think I've ever been prouder of President Biden. Forgive me. As he traveled to the war zone, a courageous trip, a war zone where no U.S. military troops were there, but he did so with good cheer and determination, bravery, and courage to stand in that war zone alongside an extraordinarily courageous leader and President Zelensky. 2 presidents beaming. Did you notice their faces? They were in a war zone, and they were beaming in each other's presence. And to me, that beaming was a bright light of decency and democracy, that we will stand together until the end, and victory is Ukraine's. We represent an unbreakable bond of democracy and a belief in our 2 nations. And what was President Biden able to do in these 12 months? Alongside, of course, importantly, President Zelensky, summon more than 50 nations around this globe in support. May we add to that number every single day. And so, if you don't mind, may we say just a silent prayer for the people of Ukraine, for those who we have lost, for the children we need returned, for the brave soldiers and citizens, certainly for the president and his wife and their family, that Ukraine would be victorious. So just a moment of prayer. Slava Ukraini. Heroям slava. Thank you.
We now invite to the podium Iryna Mazur, our Honorary Consul from Ukraine to Pennsylvania.
Good morning. Most Honorable Representatives Madeleine Dean, Ben Sanchez, Dr. Jonathan Perry, and all present here today. Almost a year ago, the world's leaders gave Ukraine only 3 days to survive. But today, Ukraine stays alive, stays stronger, and Ukrainian people stay together. Ukraine's response to Russia's brutal invasion has received widespread international acclaim and recognition, and has united millions of hearts in support of Ukraine. If you support Ukraine, it means that Ukrainian people and their president have touched your hearts. President Zelensky, together with the entire Ukrainian nation, have become a symbol of unity, strength, and uncompromised desire for independence, for the basic human right to be free and to choose your own future. And the reason why the entire American nation, why you support Ukraine, it's because you agree with what Ukraine stands for, because we share the same ideas and values. Like never before in my life, I see the similarities between the core values of our 2 nations, American and Ukrainian people. The ongoing war against Ukraine has lasted twice as long as the World War II. The last 300 years of Russia's imperialism inflicted the systematic genocide of the Ukrainian nation when over 10 million Ukrainians were starved to death during artificially created famines, when millions were killed in concentration camps and prisons of Siberia, when for centuries Ukrainians have to survive forceful and brutal Russifications because their language, art, and history were systematically targeted by Russia. Ukrainians have been subjected to 3 deliberate and intentional waves of Holodomors. It's an artificial famine perpetrated by the Soviet Union, the successor of the Russian Empire. At that time, the world turned a blind eye, and later, the true events of artificially created famines of 1920, 1933, and 1946 were blurred by the Russian propaganda and misinformation. But Ukraine did not disappear and did not cave in. Just as the famous Ukrainian poet Lesia Ukrainka said, "Contra spem spero," against all hope I hope, Ukraine survived. What were the core elements of that survival? I have to tell you, it's hope and faith. It's our culture and our language. So today, freedom and liberty speak to all of us in Ukrainian, the same language that Russia officially banned over 140 times. And despite everything, the Ukrainian nation is alive and even stronger than before, a multi-ethnic and multi-religious country that is united by the descendant of the only Jewish survivor in his family, President Zelensky's grandfather. In response to the brutal Russian aggression in February 2022, Ukrainians, together with their president, just adopted a very American motto: "Give me liberty or give me death," and they will not give up on their liberty and freedom. And you don't have to be born in Ukraine or to be Ukrainian to support Ukraine. You just need to feel your heart and be human. With great hope in my heart, I am looking forward to the time when I will stand in front of you and I will invite you to see beautiful Kiev, when chestnut trees will bloom there. To visit multicultural Odessa and to see liberated Black Sea. I want you to see restored old Kiev, and I want to enjoy gorgeous Lviv. And I also want you to visit sun-filled Crimea under blue Ukrainian sky. I promise you that once you visit Ukraine, you will always return there, and Ukrainians will always welcome you with open heart. From the bottom of my heart, on behalf of every Ukrainian child, every Ukrainian woman, mother and father, every Ukrainian soldier, I would like to thank the American people, the American government, the American President Biden. I would like to thank you, Congresswoman Dean, for the enormous support that you have already provided to Ukraine. And it is my sincere hope that all of you will continue to support Ukraine and her people. Dr. Perry, today's ceremony of breaking the bread was extremely meaningful because when Ukraine's fields of grain were burned by Russian missiles, Ukraine did not stop to supply the world with the grain. So I want to thank you, Dr. Perry, for bringing the fact that Ukrainian bread, Ukrainian hospitality, Ukrainian care will always provide for the world. Like we did it. We did it this year, we did 9 years ago, we did 100 years ago. So this is very important because today in Pennsylvania we have over 15,000 Ukrainian nationals that had to flee the war. 15,000 newly arrived Ukrainians to Pennsylvania that Pennsylvanians opened their hearts to Ukrainians. Again, Thank you very much for all of you for your support. And thank you again, Dr. Perry, for this powerful message. God bless America. І слава Україні!
Alum.
I wanted to remind you that Ukrainians have been suppressed for centuries. However, we persevered through our will, bravery, and determination to stay alive as a nation. This war united the world as well as brought people together to support Ukraine as we go through this awful time. Bringing awareness allows for Ukraine to be seen, and spreading information allows for a broader understanding on how vicious the aggressor is. Today we are fighting for our democratic values, not only in Ukraine but internationally. We need the help of our Western allies in order to show the aggressor that we do not condone this behavior. Being an Ukrainian American, I ask that you continue to support us because a Ukrainian victory is not only a victory for Ukraine, but a victory for the free world.
I want to bring up an important point that was already mentioned today. There is a global and very common misconception that the war has begun only a year ago, when in fact Ukraine has been fighting for democratic values and principles for over 9 years, starting in late 2013 with the Euromaidan, and later in 2014 when Russia came in and illegally annexed Crimea. 9 years. That means our resources have been depleted for 9 years. Key players right now are dying out more and more rapidly. If once we could call this a Russo-Ukrainian conflict, and I hesitated to do that even then, it is most definitely now a global war. In the minds of Russians, they believe that they are already fighting with NATO, though NATO may not be present on the battlefield. That's what's being broadcasted to them. Now is the time for the West to not be passive. Putin's allies, like China, we see, have no plans of sitting idly by. That's why I wanted to thank you for playing the role of being a support system. I can confidently say that Ukraine knows that it's not alone. And together, and only together, we can win this war, which will finally make way for peace. Thank you.